Hello everybody, happy Easter. We have been treated to not only all 8 episode titles, but a trailer as well. In this video, we are going to look at each individual episode title and the little snippets that we got with those revelations. There will be a second video focusing on the trailer, so we'll have the trailer breakdown tomorrow. So don't think, oh, she's not talking about the trailer here. There's just too much to talk about in one video, so don't worry, there'll be 2. Also, just to be fun and spice things up a little bit, as we go through these episode titles, I'm going to rank them. And what is the only acceptable unit of measurement to use when ranking something in Doctor Who? Malcoms. So let's start straight away with episode 1, Space Babies, written by Russell T Davies and directed by Julie Ann Robinson, and it will be released on the 11th of May. My ranking for this title: 5 Malcoms. I am slightly indifferent towards this particular title. I definitely don't dislike it as much as Danny does. It's not my favourite of the titles. It probably is one of the lowest of all of the 8 titles. What I will say is it a coincidence that The Church on Ruby Road was quite focused on babies, and then immediately the next episode that follows is also a baby-centric episode? I don't think the stories are going to be massively similar, if I'm being honest. I feel like, particularly with this title, I think one of the criticisms of this particular title is that it feels kind of more like a parody. It feels a little tongue-in-cheek. And that to me suggests that this episode might be kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's so hard for me not to be referencing things from the trailer here, because obviously there are things from that episode that we saw in the trailer. But I feel like this is going to maybe have a slightly more comedic tone to parts of it. Obviously, when you do compare it to other titles of episode 1s, in Doctor Who, it does feel maybe slightly weaker. I mean, if you compare it to things like The 11th Hour or Partners in Crime, Deep Breath, but I don't hate it, I really don't. As for the teaser clip that we got for this, it felt kind of horror-like. It was quite creepy, so we had that kind of Demogorgon-looking creature that we've seen in the previous trailers, in kind of a shadow over the name Space Babies, which is written on a wall in what looks like crayon, you know, a typical child's drawing on a wall. There's a creepy child's giggle playing as well. Who are these babies and why are they significant? Are they like food for the Demogorgon? I have so many questions. Okay, so next, episode 2, The Devils Chord. Written again by Russell T Davies, directed by Ben Chessel, and again will be released on the 11th of May. As we know, both episodes are going to be released at the same time. For the first time ever, 2 episodes in one night. My rating: 9 Malcoms. Very high, very high. Do you know what? This was my contender for being the best title. I really like this title. Having said that, we did already know this title because Russell T Davies had confirmed it in Doctor Who magazine a little while back. But still, I really like it, so it doesn't matter. So obviously we know this is the kind of Abbey Road Beatles-centric episode, and The Devil's Chord is a very apt title. It's actually a musical term. I'm going to read you the definition. An evil-sounding combination of notes that's designed to create a chilling or foreboding atmosphere. I'm getting, like, waves of the giggle. It's making me think of the giggle, that tone, that kind of influenced people's minds. Also, we have obviously Jinx Monsoon, who we've seen in the previous trailer using that kind of musical notes as a weapon, whether that is what's playing the chord. Now, another interesting fact, because the Devil's Chord actually goes by many different names, one of which is the Triad. Hello, Triad? You mean Triad as in Triad Technologies, the mysterious organisation that we keep seeing popping up and hearing about in Doctor Who, that we're fairly certain is going to be very important, that kind of triad? So obviously the triad stuff that we've seen so far is kind of set in the modern day, and this episode is set in the 60s. So either this suggests that it's just a pure coincidence, or the triad link and connection is spread throughout time, as well as different places. Obviously we've got that mysterious character played by Susan Twist as well. It's all connected somehow. And as for the teaser itself, it was very ominous. You had this kind of spooky Ring-a-Ring-a Roses playing, like a nursery rhyme. It very much felt like horror vibes and that kind of typical horror note. I guess a Devil's Chord playing in that little clip. again, it's quite shocking that it feels that horror vibe. First of all, it seems like 2 very horror-centric episodes in a row. And also for the Beatles episode, it felt like it was going to be more light. We'd kind of had the suggestion that there's going to be musical numbers, but this particular clip definitely feels a lot more ominous than we initially thought. Okay, next, episode 3, Boom! Written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Julie Ann Robinson, and will be released on the 18th of May. 6 Malcoms. Now, I hear some of you going, what? That's quite low. It does the job, it's short and sweet. It doesn't wow me. Obviously, I'm very excited about the fact that this is Stephen Moffat's episode. Very, very, very excited to have him return. We also did actually speculate in our video covering Stephen Moffat's return that this episode would be called Boom, based on some findings on social media and a quote that he had given, seemingly not in relation to these episodes, but he was very sneaky and basically dropped this episode title in a seemingly unimportant interview. So, sneaky, Stephen Moffat, I like what you did there. So, if anyone wants to bet on the Christmas special being called Joy to the World... Now, as I said, in terms of the title itself, Boom. Not the greatest of Stephen Moffat's titles, World Enough and Time, The Girl in the Fireplace, The Empty Child, The Time of Angels. Boom. As I did say, it's simple, it's to the point, and considering that this is in relation to the big explosive landmine episode, I think it does fit. As for the little teaser clip, there's not really much to add here. It clearly kind of confirms the battlefield element of what we already knew about the episode. It did make me think of, obviously because it's Stephen Moffat as well, it did make me think of the boom in the wall. It made me think of when the War Doctor shot No More into the wall in the 50th. Probably completely unrelated, but that's what it made me think of. Okay, episode 4, 73 Yards, written by Russell T Davies, directed by Dylan Holmes Williams, and will be released on the 25th of May. 7 Malcoms. So far, all these titles have been quite unusual. Not really what we're used to with Doctor Who titles. I'm not really sure what we are used to with Doctor Who titles, but all of these so far have felt a little bit strange to me. But I do like this one. It is pretty good. It's, again, not my favourite one, but it's maybe not the worst one. As far as we can work out, the number 73 doesn't have any significance in the world of Doctor Who that we can figure out, so if you've found one, do let us know. It kind of suggests... It's not a countdown, but it does suggest some sort of, peril. We've had this suggestion that there's this mysterious figure kind of stalking Ruby, and what if that mysterious figure is always 73 yards away from her? That I could definitely get behind. What I can say with quite a lot of certainty is that I don't think 73 yards is in any way a good thing. It's written by Russell T Davies, and it's kind of the mid-season episode. Obviously, remember it is the mid-season episode. This is a shorter episode count. This series only has 8 episodes, so it has a shorter episode count. So this is the mid-season episode. Now, generally speaking, the mid-season episode does tend to kind of circle back to the main arc, and I would think that this episode is more focused on the mysteries of Ruby and more focused on the main arc of the entire season. I would say that Boom and the Devil's Chord are kind of more standalone, and I think this one probably does circle back to the kind of deeper arc of the season. If you look at Russell T Davies' history, his mid-season episodes do seem to be quite juicy, quite important. If you think the long game in Series 1 was obviously quite relevant to then the season finale. You've got Martha's return mid-season in Series 4, which again became relevant to the finale. So yeah, I think there's quite a lot of precedent for this to be quite relevant to the overall arc. Also, Russell T Davies has previously stated that this episode is one of the greatest things he's ever written, so buckle up folks, it's gonna be a good one. So as for the teaser shot that we got for this episode, there's that kind of blue tint and the snow that we've previously seen in the trailer, and then we have the word 73 yards written in a pub sign with a tree in it. The tree made me think of Sleepy Hollow. It's kind of got this supernatural fairy tale vibe going on. Again, quite a horror-centric teaser. Now, we did say in the previous trailer breakdown that the blue tinge and the snow kind of to us suggests some sort of vision or dream or revisiting of a different of a memory or a different reality. If this is the episode that's focusing on those different shots of Ruby, then there's definitely merit to that. Having said that, the outfit that Ruby is wearing in the kind of snowstorm shot in the trailer, that's her final episode outfit. And this is only episode 4, so whether we revisit a particular element of this episode again in the finale, or there's some sort of time travel going on, or there's a location that's being reused, I'm not sure. But this definitely feels like it's going to be a very, very, I don't know, supernatural element. I think that's something that Kate mentioned in the previous trailer as well. Things are getting more supernatural. I think this episode might answer some questions, or maybe give us more. Okay, episode 5, Dot and Bubble, written again by Russell T Davies, directed by Dylan Holmes Williams again, and released on the 1st of June. 6 Malcoms. Again, I feel like that one's quite low, but this one doesn't really do much for me. Again, these titles feel quite strange. They don't feel Doctor Who. And as I said, I'm not sure what Doctor Who does feel like, but these just feel slightly odd. Maybe a little... maybe fantastical. I mean, I know we have this idea of myths becoming reality, and there's something about them that's just, I don't know what it is. So we are thinking that this is the episode with the space slugs. It also, I would think, is the episode that's got Albion and perhaps Aniran Barnard. I said it right the first time, then I thought I'd said it wrong. It's a thing. Dot, does that mean like .com? Is it some sort of commentary on social media? I've seen some suggestions that the dot and bubble is in reference to, you know, the dots you get when someone's typing and then the speech bubble of a message. I think this one's definitely going to have a lot of kind of social commentary within it, and commentary on, social media and the online world. Obviously, we know that Russell T Davies does have precedent for doing episodes like that. Now, it's the same writer and director as the previous episode. Now, we know that the last 2 episodes are a 2-parter. We haven't been told that there are any other 2-parters, but that doesn't mean they aren't. Personally, I don't think they are a 2-parter, though. I think they're vastly different. And I feel like this episode is more standalone. They just have very different vibes to them, I feel. So as for the teaser itself, you've got kind of TV static over the title card, and then you've got what appears to be kind of people's like profile pictures or something on screens behind the title. The sound effects kind of feel very game kind of like. It definitely suggests that this episode is going to be some sort of online culture, social media commentary. It kind of reminds me of the Bells of St. John, you know, the idea of people getting kind of stuck in the internet. Perhaps this is kind of a similar concept to that. What does intrigue me is how how the big slug things play into this. I guess we'll find out. And then episode 6, Rogue. This one is written by Kate Herron and Bryony Redman and directed by Ben Chessel, and it will be released on the 8th of June. 8 Malcoms. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point, but I kind of feel like just because of the word itself, it has more intrigue to it. Now, obviously, we've known for a while that Kate Herron and Bryony Redman were going to be writing the Bridgerton Regency episode. We also knew that episode 6 was going to be the Regency episode. Obviously, Kate Herron was the showrunner for Loki, so she's got the sci-fi skills. Also, interestingly, a lot of people have pointed this out. Some people are criticizing it, some people loving it. This is one of only two episodes in this 8-episode collection not to be written by Russell T Davies. You've got this one, and then you've got, obviously, Stephen Moffat's, and every other episode is written by Russell T Davies. Personally, I don't mind that. I know some people have criticised it. I like Russell T Davies' writing, so I'm not mad about it. Obviously, in the past, Doctor Who has had more guest writers, but I think with this being the first kind of jump into RTD2 past the 60th specials, and it having a reduced episode count, I think Russell obviously just wants to kind of maybe take the bulk of it, really set a precedent for what he wants to happen. Like I said, I'm not mad about it. Now, in terms of Rogue, who is the Rogue? I would be inclined to suggest that the Rogue is in reference to Jonathan Groff's character. We did speculate in our previous video that Jonathan Groff may be some sort of time agent or rogue time traveler. It feels like he's out of place, out of time in this kind of Bridgerton Regency era. So I would suggest that he's the Rogue, but having said that, maybe we know that Indira Varma's character is not of the human race, and so maybe she is the rogue. There are many possibilities as to who the rogue is, and that's what I like about this title. It intrigues enough for you to go, well, there are many possibilities here. Who is it? And it gets you asking questions. As for the teaser itself, it's quite a simple one. It's very clear. It's the Regency era. It's kind of a dance card and an invitation. Some of the names on the dance card, though, we have Lord Adams, we have Lord Alex and Lord Edward, and at the bottom there we have Smith. Now, who do we know that goes by the name of Smith? Also, the dance is hosted by the Duchess of Pemberton. I would be inclined to suggest that perhaps is Indira Varma's character, but also it feels like a little bit of a nod to Pride and Prejudice. Obviously you've got Pemberley House, which is owned by Mr. Darcy, and considering the Regency era of it, it maybe is a little bit connected there. Episode 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, written again by Russell T Davies, directed by Jamie Donahue, and releasing on the 15th of June. 8 Malcoms. This is more like it. This feels more Doctor Who title to me. So a lot of Doctor Who titles seem to be the something of the Doctor, the something of someone. The Day of the Doctor, the Husbands of River Song, the Time of the Doctor. All of these kind of, that feels more, this feels more Doctor Who to me. It's very funny, isn't it? Because I feel like the titles kind of started off a little bit more goofy and they've got more serious as we've got on. Whether that's intentional or not, I'm not sure. Perhaps as the Doctor is starting to learn and understand things more, it becomes more serious. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it is confirmed that episodes 7 and 8 are a two-parter. So I think we can expect some sort of cliffhanger ending to this episode, or some sort of shocking ending. Also, the idea that it's referring to Ruby as a legend, the legend of Ruby Sunday, that to me further supports my theory that Ruby Sunday is only possible because the Doctor invoked superstition. I think this whole idea of myths becoming reality, I think Ruby is so linked to that somehow, and my theory being that she can only exist now as a result of that. So she is somehow a legend or a myth or something that shouldn't exist or couldn't have existed prior to Wild Blue Yonder. Obviously, we've been speculating as well that Ruby is integral to this season, that she's very important, she's the key. The title of this episode pretty much confirms that. As for the little teaser clip, it's very ominous. You've got a TV kind of camera setup, lots of static, lots of glitches. The first thing that kind of came to our mind is, what if Ruby is trapped in some sort of like fake reality, like the Truman Show kind of vibes, and that's why she's a legend. Like she's being observed. She's actually on TV, literally like the Truman Show. Ooh. That might be wrong, but how cool would that be? That could also kind of link back to the fact that in the church on Ruby Road, when do we first meet Ruby? When she's being interviewed for a TV show by Davina McCall. Like, what if it's a whole, documentary and we're, we're, watching someone watching? Ooh, how meta is that? Oh, it's kind of hurting my brain, but I kind of like it. Okay, and then episode 8, Empire of Death. Written, again, by Russell T Davies, directed by Jamie Donahue, and releasing on the 22nd of June. 10 out of 10 Malcoms. By far the best title, in my opinion, of the 8. I think it's appropriately epic, it's mysterious, it's exciting, this is the season finale, and the stakes are high. I mean, as soon as the word death is in a title, you know it's serious. It also, again, feels really Doctor Who. Like, Empire of Death, that really makes me think of, classic era Doctor Who. City of Death. It very much, again, I can't put my finger on what it is that feels Doctor Who about a title, but Space Babies, not so much. The Legend of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death, yes, absolutely feels Doctor Who. The word death does make me slightly concerned though. Who's gonna die? We've obviously been saying, is it Ruby? But who? Kate? Mel? Rose? Anyone could die. Having said that, could be the TARDIS. The social media clip that we got, very spooky shot of the TARDIS that's shrouded in darkness, the lights are flickering. The TARDIS don't look so good. And the noises made, I don't know if the noises are coming from the TARDIS or whether they're just part of the trailer, but it kind of feels like the TARDIS is not doing so great. It's feeling a little poorly. Obviously, we've speculated that the TARDIS is linked to triad technologies, something's broken in time. We've also speculated the fact that there shouldn't be two TARDISes existing at once, and perhaps that's where the problem's coming from. But as I've said, we've kept commenting on how the TARDIS is linked to this, and this kind of suggests that the TARDIS is the key to some of the problems happening. Obviously, the lights are flickering and there's kind of bright lights coming from within the TARDIS, so perhaps it's suggesting that the TARDIS has kind of been taken over. If you think like House taking over the TARDIS, is someone in control of it? Perhaps maybe the Doctor and Ruby are trapped within the TARDIS, or maybe the infected TARDIS is kind of spilling out into our world and changing things and making bad things happen and affecting time and space and... Ooh, it's so good, it's so juicy. Either way, it's very intriguing, and I'm very excited to see where things are going. So overall, I think we've got a real broad variety of titles here. We've gone from kind of ones that are a bit meh to some that are really gripping, and I'm so excited. Let me know in the comments down below which of the titles is your favourites. Give us a rating, give us a Malcoms rating in the comments down below. As I said at the beginning, we will have a trailer breakdown coming as well. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten. How could you forget that amazing trailer we just saw? It's just that there's too much to talk about in one video. So we will be bringing that out. It will hopefully be with you tomorrow. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. And let's all just get very excited.